Hey guys, so it's been a really long time since I've made a video, but I decided that I was going to make one today, give you all a little bit of a life update, and hopefully try to get back to my normal posting and recording schedule and, get back to my mental health content. Um, but for today, I wanted to just do a little bit of a life update just because it has been so long since I've made a video. I don't think I've made one like in 2024, which is wild because 2024 is somehow already half over. So I guess today I'm going to kind of address the kind of more obvious differences that you might notice, like if you're comparing like my current video to some of my older videos. So yeah, basically I'm like super nervous to make this video. But I recently came out as transgender. This is something that I have known about myself for my entire life, but I have always ignored it. I didn't grow up in the most affirming and inclusive household, so a lot of just anything related to LGBTQ was just not something that was okay in my household growing up. So I knew this about myself, but I hid it for a very, very long time. I came out probably, I believe it was towards the end of 2023. I I came out as non-binary. So non-binary is underneath the transgender umbrella, but basically for me at the time, kind of what that meant was I didn't really feel like I aligned with like men. I didn't really feel like I aligned with women. I was kind of somewhere in between. So I came out as non-binary and I was using they them pronouns for a while. I was doing this online and a little bit with my therapist as I slowly got more comfortable to talk about it more. I started to talk about it in therapy and kind of try to use the different pronouns there. But basically, I had a really great online community that helped me a ton with coming out and kind of figuring this out for myself. Um, as time went on, and I was, using the non-binary label, I was using they them pronouns. I started to feel like, hey, this isn't 100% right. This doesn't really feel like me. It felt better than when I was using she, her pronouns and kind of just going through life assuming that I was a woman. I hated that. So non binary felt a lot better to me initially, but it still wasn't quite right. So I think it was the beginning of 2024 was when I realized that I aligned myself a little bit more with trans masculine or even like trans man. So I aligned myself a lot more with the masculine side, with the man side of kind of the gender spectrum. And at that time, I decided to switch it up a little bit and I started using he, him pronouns. That felt fantastic. I loved that. It made me feel so good and it felt really right for me. I also changed my name. So that's another thing you might notice kind of about my YouTube profile is initially my username on here was Lissa. I was going by that, but I have officially switched up my name to Zin. And this was something that just felt I don't know. Again, it just felt right to me once I started using it. I started using it first with my online community that I mentioned, and then I started using it in therapy. And then over time, I've started to just use it with everybody. So my friends and coworkers and kind of everybody, that's the name that they know me by now. And that felt great. That was really helpful. It's been difficult, I think. Obviously, I have received a lot of negativity about being transgender, a lot of people who don't really approve of it. And that's why I'm a little bit nervous to make this video, but it is Pride Month, so I figured that now is the time to do it. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about kind of how being trans has affected my mental health and kind of what are the positive changes that I've noticed as I work to affirm my gender. So, like I said, I have known that I'm transgender for like pretty much my entire life. As a kid, I was not very feminine. I didn't really align myself that much with kind of the idea of being a girl, being feminine, being a woman eventually as I got older. just, I don't know, never really felt right to me, but it's what was expected of me and what other people assumed that I was. So I just went with it because it was easier, even though it was making me feel kind of pretty terrible about myself. Um, so the first time that I kind of came out is kind of funny to me. Um, when I first started seeing the therapist that I'm seeing now, one of my sessions, it was maybe like a month or two into seeing him. And so this was almost 4 years ago at this point. We were talking about my childhood, and he asked me a question. And in context, the question made sense. In context, the question was not at all about being transgender. But he asked me the question, "Are you even a girl?" And in the context of our conversation, what my therapist was kind of trying to get me to realize was that, like, I am viewing myself as a child. So they, like, my therapist used the word girl as opposed to the word woman to just show that, like, I'm viewing myself still as a child when right now I'm an adult and I can kind of remove myself from traumatic situations and kind of work to heal myself. So that was what was meant by the question. And I knew in that moment, I knew that that's what my therapist meant, but I panicked and I, like, didn't answer right away, and I had this, like, moment of, like, am I gonna just, like, say that I'm not a girl, I'm not a woman, like, is now the time? Um, but I decided that now was not the time, and I eventually my brain kicked in and I was like, "That's not what we're talking about right now," and I answered the question in the way that the question was meant to be answered and just never spoke of it again, until the end of last year. So, like, I don't know, like 3.5 years went by, in between me, like, awkwardly, like, thinking about coming out and then just being like, "Nope, gonna just put that one away for a while." Um, so the like I was saying earlier, end of last year is when I came out as non-binary and I started using they them pronouns and was using that in therapy. And then as the time went on, I started to realize that I actually really liked he him pronouns and I viewed myself as a lot more masculine. Um, so yeah, like that was kind of the first hint of it. Of like my attempt to like maybe think about coming out, but I kind of just shoved that one back down for a while just because I was raised uh so strict and so like this is wrong, and everyone in my life has always said like being trans is wrong, being any member of the LGBTQ community is wrong. So I just assumed it was wrong and continued to ignore it. It did get to a point, obviously, where I could no longer ignore it and decided that I needed to come out and be honest. And that's when I came out as non binary and then eventually switched to, calling myself a trans man, using he, him pronouns, changing my name. And that has done wonders for my mental health. And it's not going to, and I'm not expecting it to, it's not going to cure my mental health. Like, I'm still depressed. I still am suicidal. Like, I still, like, have PTSD. I still have all of those issues, but being more honest with myself and doing things that make me feel good has definitely helped my mental health. And one of the things that I noticed kind of pretty pretty early on was that um there was a day, and it was pretty recent. It was like maybe the last week or two where I went an entire 11 hours without once thinking about killing myself, which most people probably don't think about killing themselves every second of the day. But I have been chronically suicidal for as long as I can remember. And prior to that day, I don't remember the last time that I went 3 minutes without thinking about killing myself. So to go 11 hours without like the thought even crossing my mind was so wild to me and felt so good. And it made me feel really happy, and it made me feel like I'm definitely on the right track. I still struggle with my suicidal thoughts. I still have chronic suicidality. Like, it's not going away, but it is better, and I am getting more breaks. And I am really excited to see, like, as I continue transitioning and I'm around more supportive people, I'm really excited to see how that's going to continue to change, because I think this is going to be really, really good for my mental health overall. So initially when I came out, one of the things that I had noticed was I had a lot of discomfort with my body. the way my body looked. I didn't like my body. I struggle, as I've talked about on my channel before, I struggle a lot with dissociation and depersonalization, where I just kind of feel like I am completely separate from my body. And that a lot of that is because of trauma. So I had this kind of moment where I was like, am I feeling uncomfortable with my body because of the trauma that I experienced? Or am I feeling uncomfortable with my body because of gender dysphoria? And just kind of, perceiving my body as feminine, as a woman, and, that kind of not sitting right in my head. Um, and ultimately, it's both. Some of my discomfort with my body is because of the sexual trauma that I have gone through, and some of the discomfort with my body is because of gender dysphoria and because I am trans. And the two things can exist at the same time and also not kind of be the cause of the other. I think that's something I've heard a lot, is that um like people, especially people who are female, if they are trans, like a lot of the times people think like they're trans because they went through trauma, specifically sexual trauma. The phrase that's been kind of thrown at me is that like me being trans is just a way for me to reject my femininity, and my femininity being something that I resented because of the trauma that I experienced. And I don't agree with that at all. I don't like my trauma and what I've gone through doesn't like affect me being trans. They're two separate things, but they both affect how I view my body and my discomfort with my body. So they are two things that kind of just exist at the same time, but they're not really completely related to each other. So the last thing I want to talk about just a little bit is some of the changes that I've made, and how those changes have impacted my mental health. So the first thing that I did last year when I came out as non-binary was cut my hair. And initially I was nervous because I've had super long hair my entire life. I've never had short hair. So I was really nervous to cut it. So the first time I cut it like shoulder length, which was fine. I liked it. I think I went back like a week and a half later and had the rest of it like cut off, to be a lot shorter. And obviously I'm wearing a hat right now, which was probably poor planning for this video, but my hair is a lot shorter. It's kind of shaved on the sides, a little bit longer on the top, definitely a more masculine haircut. And this was the first kind of big change that I made to myself that made me feel really good. And I was like, I like the way I look a lot better now. This feels like right to me. I'm really happy with this change. So that's what I started with. After that, I started to kind of just change a little bit how I dressed, and I've never dressed super femininely, so it wasn't a big change for me. Like prior to coming out, my typical outfit was just jeans and some sort of band t-shirt, which I'm wearing my current band t-shirt now. So I didn't change a lot of that, but I did start wearing a binder, which basically just flattens out your chest and just kind of gives you a more masculine looking chest. I did switch from women's pants to men's pants, which want to say one of the best decisions because men's pants are incredibly comfortable, and pockets, like women's pants, the pockets are like tiny. Men's pants, pockets are massive. I can fit my entire phone in it and it doesn't fall out and it's great. So really liking the men's pants. And then kind of the biggest change that I've made, besides my name was a big one because a lot of people had to adjust to that and kind of adjust to calling me something different, something completely unrelated to my birth name. But the biggest kind of medical thing, I guess, that I've done is I did start HRT. So HRT stands for hormone replacement therapy. So for me, I started taking testosterone just under 2 months ago. I take it with injections. So I just inject it every other week. Super easy. Don't have to like think about it beyond just the one injection. So that's been really good and really helpful and just really easy to navigate. And I noticed a like kind of an immediate effect to my mental health after like my first injection, and that's continued. I noticed that the first, I don't know, maybe like 4-ish days after my injection, I feel pretty good mentally. I feel a little bit less depressed. I have more energy, more excited to do things. And then it kind of slowly goes away over time, until my next injection, which is normal at the start. Eventually, I will be kind of reaching a level of testosterone in my body where that I won't have as much of the like peak and then dip in mood that I'm experiencing now. But I've only been on it for like 2 months, so it's going to take a little bit of time. And the longer you're on testosterone, the more permanent, more physical changes you start to see. So a lot of the time, like people will grow facial hair. Your fat on your body redistributes itself a little bit, so your body looks a little bit more like a man's body. So some of like the fat around my hips or my thighs will kind of redistribute and give me more of the like shape of a cis man's body. So that's kind of the effect I'm waiting for. I'm hoping. I think it'll be really helpful to me. And then the biggest change that I'm the most excited about is the change in my voice. And it's definitely already starting to change. I think if you were to compare the video, like me talking in this video, to one of my older videos, you'll notice that my voice is already a little bit lower. And that will continue to drop a little bit more and be a little bit more consistently low. Right now, since I'm taking testosterone, I am essentially going through male puberty. So I'm kind of in the stage where my voice is cracking like a 12-year-old boy who is just hitting puberty. So I'm dealing with that and it's annoying, but it'll go away eventually and then just kind of be consistently low. But I'm really excited for that change because it makes me happy to have a more masculine sounding voice. And I'm excited to have my voice kind of keep getting deeper and keep getting a little bit more masculine. So to close this video, I just wanted to say thank you guys for listening. I think the video came out a little bit longer than I was anticipating it being, so thank you so much for sticking with it, seeing it to the end. I am incredibly nervous to post this video, even to make this video. I've refilmed it a few times because I'm just so nervous about it because I have received a lot of negativity around being transgender. And I think a lot of that is coming from a place of just kind of a lack of understanding, where a lot of people don't understand what it means to be transgender and just assume that it's horrible and wrong and evil and whatever else. And I'm nervous to kind of film this and put myself out there on the internet about it. But I think it's good. It is June, which is Pride Month, so I feel like this was the perfect month for me to come out a little bit more officially. And I hope that if anyone out there is trans or is struggling at all with their identity, that this video can help you to understand that there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with you. It's the way your brain develops. And being transgender, like it's not typical. It's not what like typically happens, but it is normal and it is natural and it is okay. And it's okay to question your identity and to explore different things and work towards getting more comfortable with yourself, because I think for me, I've noticed that as I get more comfortable with myself and my identity and who I am, it's having a positive effect on my mental health that I think will only continue as I keep being true to myself. So I am nervous, but I am happy to have made this video. I will get back to my normal mental health content on a little bit more of a consistent schedule, hopefully. And as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments and I will do my best to answer them. If there's any topics you want to see me cover related to being transgender or anything mental health related, please also feel free to leave those in the comments. I will do my best to respond to everyone and make videos as I see fit. And I will probably continue to talk a little bit about being transgender and how that kind of affects my mental health and different like challenges and benefits and all of that. I will probably add those videos into my normal mental health content on this channel as well. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So thank you guys so much for watching and I hope you have a great rest of your day.